Between July 24th and July 28th, 2025, the United States witnessed a terrifying wave of violence. From isolated wilderness trails to city streets, bustling stores, and even corporate skyscrapers, the suspects were strangers, the attacks were brutal, random, and in everyday places, and the motives? Often unclear. Buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's take a closer look at the chaos that left communities reeling. All the cases we cover today are ongoing. Information may change as they continue to investigate. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. July 24th. It began just after sunrise in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A 25-year-old woman was jogging along a trail in the Turkey Mountain urban wilderness area when she was brutally attacked. Jesse James Brown, 29, approached her without warning.
Police say Brown approached her, telling her she was, quote, going to meet God,
and stabbed her multiple times in the head and face. She managed to push him off and screamed for help, drawing the attention of nearby hikers who came to her rescue. Brown fled into the woods but was captured 12 hours later, after his parents recognized him in surveillance footage. Police used drones, bikes, and a helicopter to locate him. Brown was charged with assault with a deadly weapon and is being held without bond. The victim, whose identity has not been released, is expected to survive. The following day, the community organized an honor run at Turkey Mountain to show solidarity and to reclaim the trail. And that same day, a monstrous discovery was announced in Bibb County, Alabama. 7 people were arrested for operating an underground child trafficking ring. At least 10 children, ages 3 to 15, were held in a converted storm shelter where they were tortured, and sold. Some were restrained with animal shock collars. Others were trafficked for up to $1,000 a night. The abuse went on for years. It only came to light after a DHR tip in February. And now some question, why did it take 5 months to act? Authorities say some suspects were relatives of the victims and one had gang ties. The children are now in protective custody.
Some of the victims, the offenders, were their parents and different relatives and things like that.
July 26th. Devil's Den State Park in Arkansas. A family hike turned into a nightmare. Clinton and Kristen Brink, a married couple in their 40s, were found dead on the trail. Their young daughters, 7 and 9, were left unharmed and are now with family. Several hours went by before the public was even notified. Crucial hours were lost when people could be on the lookout. This family had just moved to Northwest Arkansas from another state. They didn't seem to have any enemies. No one could make sense of this. The community took to the comments on Facebook, asking questions and giving any piece of evidence that they may have in this case. Some witnesses came forward and remembered seeing a suspicious man on the trail. His behavior, his movements, just seemed really suspicious to them. So they made a composite sketch and it was released to the public a few days later. People witnessed a black sedan racing out of the park. Because it was so loud and driving erratic, people stopped to notice. So there is the vehicle description. There were only 2 highways that the car could have left when leaving the state park. People along those routes have looked at their cameras on their home and have found possible pictures of the vehicle. However, the plates were covered with either electrical tape or duct tape, which leads one to believe that this was pre-planned. Whether it was directly targeting the family or if it didn't matter who it was, it still seemed premeditated. The community has criticized the Arkansas State Police for their handling of this case so far. People tried to get in contact to give their tips and what they had seen, and no one was answering the phone. A tip line has finally been set up, but the suspect is still on the loose. A manhunt continues while the motive remains unknown.
It was right here at this beauty salon in Springdale where the Arkansas State Police say that just before 5 Wednesday evening, they arrested 28-year-old Andrew James McGann. This comes 5 days after he's alleged to have killed Clinton and Kristen Brink at Devil's Den State Park on Saturday. He now faces 2 counts of capital murder. Arkansas State Police Major Stacy Rhodes says specific details on how investigators tracked down McGann will be released at a later time. She says authorities are still working to determine a motive and are being careful not to release information too early as they focus on building a solid case for conviction. Rhodes confirms McGann had recently moved to Arkansas from Oklahoma and had secured a job at a local school. State police also credit the public's involvement as a key factor in McGann's capture.
So he was arrested not far from where he lives, but this is video just now into our newsroom of that arrest happening at that beauty salon, getting arrested seemingly while getting a haircut. He's still wearing the barber's cape right there, 5 days after the murders happened.
And that same afternoon in Michigan, shoppers at a Traverse City Walmart were caught in a horrifying scene. 42-year-old Bradford James Guile walked in with a folding knife and stabbed 11 people randomly without warning. The victims ranged in ages from 29 to 84, including several senior citizens. Of course, he would target people that he didn't think could overtake him. What a coward. A bystander with a handgun forced Guile to drop the knife and held him until police arrived. Guile was homeless and had an active court order out on him just a day before the attack. Now he faces charges of terrorism and 11 counts of assault with intent to murder. Authorities say it could have been worse without the brave intervention of the shoppers.
As for Gilly, prosecutors say he is a danger to public safety. The judge agreed.
The defendant does have 2 prior assaultive convictions, as well as at least 1, if not more, malicious destruction of property convictions. Additionally, he does unfortunately have a history of mental illness, including prior involuntary hospitalizations. It also asks you to look at the seriousness of the offense. Clearly, this is one of the most serious crimes that someone can commit in the state of Michigan, and it has a huge impact on public safety.
Certainly is one of the most heinous accusations from an individual that's been before this court in 30-some years.
You know, the tobacco, y'all like have the tobacco company and you're selling cigarettes with fiberglass and chemicals in them just to kill off the population, you know, and you can't really accuse me of anything if you're doing that, you know, so.
Okay. So I'm going to mute you for right now because I need.
So as you heard there, Gilly trying to change the subject, the judge muting him, setting his bond at $100,000 cash. Now, the judge said she would see him back in court on August 12th. We should note that nearly 10 years ago, Gilly was found mentally incompetent to stand trial after trying to dig up a grave because he thought people were being buried alive. As of right now, with no job, no home, it appears he will be behind bars indefinitely.
That same evening, in Philadelphia's Tioga Nicetown neighborhood, tragedy unfolded just before 8:30 p.m. Gunfire erupted on West Hunting Park Avenue. 2 men, ages 26 and 29, were shot in the head and later pronounced dead at Temple University Hospital. 2 more victims, a 26-year-old woman and her 7-year-old daughter, were also injured. The child suffered a graze wound to her scalp. No arrests have been made, police haven't identified a motive, and the violence added to an already bloody month in Philadelphia, which saw a surge in shootings.
Now please take a good look at these 2 men. Philadelphia police say Lawrence Coleman and Virgil Williams are wanted for shooting 4 people Saturday night. It happened during a fight at a barbecue on the 1900 block of West Hunting Park Avenue. 2 of the victims died. A 7-year-old girl and her mother were also hurt. If you recognize either one of these men, please give Philadelphia police a call.
July 27th. Jacksonville, Florida, faced a terrifying wave of gun violence over just 12 hours between the late hours of the 26th and early morning hours of the 27th. In 4 separate shootings across the city, 5 people were shot, 1 fatally. 2 teen boys were wounded during a robbery near Woodstock Park. Hours later, a woman was shot in the head. A man was critically injured in another attack, and a man in his 20s was found dead at City Gate Apartments. With no arrests announced, fear ripped across Duval County. As the police continue to investigate, the community is left grappling with the brutal violence that erupted across one night.
Jacksonville Sheriff's Office says, as those two teens were hanging out in Woodstock Park, they were approached by two masked men who demanded their backpacks. When the teens handed them over and ran away, that's when the two men opened fire, shooting one teen in the hand and the other in the arm. Both are expected to survive. Around 1 o'clock Sunday morning, a shooting on Monaco Drive in Jacksonville's Highlands area, where a woman was walking, approached by an unknown person, and shot in the head, but expected to survive. Then around 3 a.m. near Edgewood Ave in West Beaver Street, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office says a man was found shot in the chest, now in critical condition. Finally, also around 3 a.m. on Gate Parkway West, a man in his mid-20s was shot and killed, with the suspect yet to be identified and police still working to figure out what led up to the shooting.
July 28th. Terror erupted in the heart of New York City. At 6:30 p.m., 27-year-old Shane Devin Tamara walked into the lobby of 345 Park Avenue, home to the NFL's headquarters, and opened fire with an M4-style rifle. He killed 4 people, including an off-duty officer, Didrul Islam, a father of 2 with a pregnant wife. Another victim was murdered on the 33rd floor before Tamara took his own life. Tamara had driven across the country from Las Vegas, armed and wearing a bulletproof vest. He had a history of mental illness and no known ties to the building or its occupants. Authorities confirmed he acted alone. The motive? Still a mystery. However, investigators are closely examining a 3-page note he left behind that strongly suggests his actions were tied to his belief that he had suffered from a chronic CTE, which is a brain injury. In the letter, he also described his anger towards the NFL and how the league handled brain injury issues. There is no evidence that Tamara had ever played for the NFL. Just hours before the New York City shooting, another deadly attack took place in Reno, Nevada. At 7:25 a.m., an unidentified man opened fire outside the Grand Sierra Resort and Casino, killing 3 people and injuring several others. The suspect had been pacing in the valet area for nearly 15 minutes. When his gun initially jammed, bystanders were confused. But once it fired, the panic began. He fired at pedestrians, a passing car, and even at police as they arrived on scene. Officers shot him during the encounter. He was hospitalized in critical condition. There is no known connection between the suspect and the victims, and police are still searching for answers.
You just never think it's going to happen to you.
Dylan McClain speaking out for the first time since he was injured by a gunman in a mass shooting outside of a Reno, Nevada casino.
And even thinking back, it's a huge casino. It's a huge town. We're one group. Why? How can that happen to us?
McClain and 12 friends, many from Thousand Oaks High School, were in town for a bachelor party. A weekend of celebration ended in complete tragedy. The group was waiting by the valet for a ride to the airport. McClain says they heard what sounded like a firecracker, and the 26-year-old gunman appeared from behind, firing 80 rounds from a 9mm handgun.
We all just turned, and the guy was right here, probably 15, 20 feet away. He had the gun down here, and he was racking it or trying to unjam it. So we all recognized at the same time, I think, and we all just took off.
The perpetrator fatally shot Andrew Canepa and Justin Aguila. Another friend, Matt, was shot several times and is recovering well in the ICU. McClain says he began running and was grazed by the bullet on his left side. Luckily, it didn't penetrate the skin. Canepa was the beloved co-owner of Side Street Cafe in Newbury Park, a father to a 6-year-old son, nicknamed Sparky because he was so chipper.
No matter what has happened in his life, you would never know it. He's just super sweet, almost annoyingly. You're just dude, Andrew, can you have a bad day?
Aguila is remembered as a generous soul who had a way of making everyone feel seen. He was a loving son, brother, and fiance.
They were perfect for each other in every single way, and we were waiting a long time for them to get engaged.
McClain says his focus now is on supporting his lifelong friends and their grieving loved ones.
They need our support now and for a long time.
A local Reno resident, 66-year-old Angel Martinez, was killed, ambushed by the shooter in the parking lot.
The last several days remind us how quickly ordinary moments can turn deadly. Strangers attack without warning. Children were harmed. Innocent lives were stolen. Was it all a coincidence? Or are these symptoms of a much deeper crisis? Mental illness, broken systems, rising rage. We don't yet have all the answers, and maybe we never will. But we do know this: behind every headline is a real person, a shattered family, and a community forced to carry on. What are your thoughts on these cases? Have you noticed similar incidents in your area? If you have updates on these cases or want us to cover another one, let us know. And if you appreciated this breakdown, be sure to subscribe. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.